What's up, guys? Welcome to another isolated episode, I guess. I don't know why I say that though, because pretty much every video I've ever done has been in like the middle of nowhere. This isn't actually the middle of nowhere though. This is like downtown Silver City, and I live just right over there. So I just walk down this creek every morning when I do my birding and stuff. And the waterfall is looking nice today, so I kind of wanted to try. I think one of the things that I'm learning from this whole isolation thing and social distancing and all of that is to really appreciate your local stuff. And for me, this is quite local because, like I said, my house is like right there. And normally, so I want to shoot some waterfalls. I was gonna go to the Pacific Northwest. I had this whole trip scheduled. I had workshops scheduled, but as you guys know, everything got canceled. And I would have preferred to do this video with something like this. But like I said, I've learned local appreciation, and this is the waterfall that I have now, right there. Isn't it amazing? Majestic, ginormous waterfall. For New Mexico standards, that's pretty good. So anyways, I have this S20 Ultra here, and I figured I just want to play around with it and see. A lot of you guys have asked me how to do like long exposure stuff with this and how they're gonna look and everything. So I figured I'd just test it out and see if I can get some good shots of this waterfall. So let's get set up. So the first thing I gotta do is find a composition. That's a little tricky. Normally what I would do for this is I would use my moment lenses, and I would use that wide angle, and I would maybe get closer to something and really exaggerate those falls because they're not that big. So getting a wide angle and putting them with a distortion and everything will help exaggerate it. But since I'm gonna use Pro mode on my phone, the only option I have is the regular lens, which is a 26mm equivalent. So I'm gonna have to back up a little bit if I wanna get more in the frame. The second problem is because I don't have my moment lenses, I also don't have the filter system that goes on top of the moment lenses that I would prefer. So I'm just gonna improvise, and I'm gonna use my Polar Pro filters, the ones that I use for my DSLR. So I just have a 6-stop and a circular polarizer, which is gonna help cut through the water. I'm gonna use both of those, and I'm gonna stack, and I'm just gonna hold them over my phone. All right, so I'm in Pro mode, and you'll notice that it's pure white, and that's because I have it set to roughly the settings that I would like. And if I hold the filter over, now we'll start seeing a better exposure. And then because I'm doing this handheld, I have to basically rotate the polarizer to the orientation that I need it to cut through the rock, or to cut through the water. So it looks like probably right there. So I've got ISO 50, which is the lowest it can go, 2-second shutter, and that should do it. My foot was totally in that shot. So you'll notice that was overexposed. So it looks like it says about 1 second should be properly exposed. That looks pretty cool. There's a ginormous tree, like dead driftwood or whatever. We had recent rains, and every time it rains, this whole area floods real bad. Now there's a giant tree blocking my waterfall. So now I'm gonna do maybe a closer shot of just this waterfall. And I think to get that though, I'm gonna have to get in the middle of this. So let me go try that. I'm gonna leave you guys here, but I'll keep the screen recorder on. All right, well, I think that's probably about the best I'm gonna be able to do without a wide angle. I don't want to complain too much because I don't think now's really a good time to complain. So it looks like I got 3 compositions, and what I did was I took a bunch of shots of each one, so if I have to blend them in post to make for a longer exposure, because I could only end up doing about half a second. So let's go check these out on the computer and piddle with them a bit and see what we can come up with. Really like that close-up shot. All right, let's go walk back to the house. All right, back on the balcony. That's the ditch I was just on, just right down there. So, got tea. I was gonna put my images on the computer, but I figured I would show you guys a Snapseed edit first. So I think for most cases, Snapseed will probably be okay, especially if you get a long enough shutter speed. There is a case where if you don't get a long enough shutter speed and you want something longer, you can take it into Photoshop and blend a bunch of the images through a mean stack, through a smart object, and I've made videos on that before. And if I decide to do that, I'll put it up on the screen. But for now, I figure since we're doing it on mobile, we'll just go ahead and finish the whole process on mobile. All right, so let's just open up Snapseed. And I got 3 compositions that I kind of liked, but we'll start with the one that I liked the most. And I think that was definitely this last one. So I shot this in pro mode, like you guys saw, and we have the raw options here, which is really great. So you'll see the raw symbol down here in the bottom left corner. And for starters, that's just gonna let you start tweaking some of the basic stuff. So I'm just gonna bring some of those highlights down just a little bit. That way I can bump up my contrast. A lot of birds this morning. And then I'm gonna drop my highlights a little bit more. Just a little bit of structure. Not too much, because personally I think structure on the Snapseed and the phone edits can be a little harsh, a little quick. It's kind of like clarity in Lightroom and Photoshop. It's really easy to overdo that. So I think all of that looks all right. Maybe I'll just boost the saturation just a little bit. All right, so that's the basic global edits for the raw file. So now let's start tweaking the rest of it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to do a brush. I'm gonna dodge and burn, and I'm gonna bring this down to -5, and then this highlight up here in the top left corner, I'm gonna burn that. That way it's not so bright. That was really kind of bothering me. And instead of doing exposure blending and doing it on the computer, we can just dodge and burn here on Snapseed, and that'll help a lot. So now I think I might do a little bit of color correction here. So what I'm doing is I'm going into the curves, and I'm adding a little bit of blues to the shadows and a little bit of yellows to the highlights. And then just a very slight S-curve on the RGB, which is basically just a little bit more contrast. So then we can come in here and we can just hold it down and see. So that's the before, and that's the after. And some people like to do the Orton effect, especially on Photoshop. Just like the fancy photographers and all that, they like to do the Orton effect. And Snapseed can kind of do that, so I'm just gonna piddle with it and see. And basically with the Orton effect is you want, like, it basically is making the highlights glow a little bit and look kind of ethereal. The problem with Snapseed is it does it globally, and you usually, in Photoshop, you like to only affect, you know, certain parts of the image so that you don't lose your detail. Because we can see here, if we pump it all the way up, you can see how horrible that looks, and it washes everything out and it looks really bad. But if we bring it down to just add just a touch of it, just something really subtle. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna save this, and then before I exit out and go to another one, I'm just gonna see what this will look like as a black and white. So the nice thing about black and white is that when contrast may have been too much for a color image, you can really get away with pushing it harder on black and white to add more of a depth to it. So I'm just gonna go with the natural right there, and then I'm gonna go back to the tools and I'm gonna go into tune image, and then I'm gonna tweak this a little bit more with the contrast. Then I'm gonna go into my curves and add a little bit of a sepia look to it. And I think that's good. So there's the black and white. I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And that's just piddling on the phone. But now you have a more fine art looking version, or and then a normal version. Well, normally edited for me, I guess. Going back and looking at that first composition right here, I'm not really stoked on it. There's really nothing that sticks out at me. I probably would have done some things different. And that's kind of why you should definitely take, like, not put all your eggs in one basket, you know, while you're out there. So get a few compositions, move your tripod around, see what looks good. Because I'm not really stoked on that one. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I think I got one that I liked. I think just this whole thing, I just wanted to kind of get out and, you know, stay creative and make these videos. And I think the biggest thing right now with this whole pandemic and the isolation is to keep your creativity level high, because one thing I've noticed is, like, the rest of society shutting down and everything, and with people being so closed off from each other, we're really starved as a species for creativity right now. And anything you can do, no matter what that is, whether it's photographing or making something or building something or whatever, anything creative. And for me, obviously, that's visual arts. And I go birding through here every day, and I always see the little creek and the waterfall and everything, and I've never really thought too much of it, you know, because I go to places with real waterfalls, you know. But that's one of the things, is I'm actually really enjoying seeing my backyard for the first time in a long time, and really appreciating it because I'm stuck here. And it's great to have stuff like this that is so powerful and just built into your pocket, and you can have, you know, like, I can keep just a little tripod on me and the little adapty bit for the little head mount on the tripod. I can fit all that stuff in my pocket. I can get the little filters, or I can even throw my DSLR filter in my pocket still and be really light and just enjoy the walk and go birding and not have to worry about, speaking of birds, sorry, y'all know I love my birds. And I can do that without having to take a backpack full of gear and just go for a nice stroll. And if I see something, I can just grab out the little pocket pod and set up the thing, and I could do a time lapse, or, you know, whatever. And I think people forget that the best camera is the camera that you have on you. And yeah, I have these big expensive DSLRs and stuff, but especially in times like this, I don't want to go lug them around all the time. And just being able to free yourself and go for a walk and piddle with your phone and get some really nice images out of it is really fun. And I think that's important. anyways, but that's definitely important right now, at least for me. So I hope you guys got something useful out of this, and if not, I hope you just enjoyed walking with me in my backyard and seeing me edit something on my phone, and just a little bit of creativity for your morning. So if you have any questions about anything that I did or didn't do concerning my settings with the S20 or with Pro Mode or the filters or the whatever, leave those in the comments below, and you know I'll definitely answer them. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I still have new videos every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, that is totally done brewing. I set the tea bag in there and just left it while I was editing and talking to you guys. Okay, we're good. It's not overdone. I was close though. You guys were just gonna let me forget.